Welcome to the Retro Video Store Podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to the Retro Video Store Podcast. I'm your host, Eric.
Hi, Eric.
And that's my co-host, Neil.
I'm Neil. And who is here with us until the world stops burning?
I'm Neil.
David is here. The gang's all here for the first time in a long time. I'm surprised.
Yeah.
It's a reunion of sorts.
We should celebrate that with some balloons.
Neil is messing with the animations of the chat that come with a Mac. I don't have them on mine because I'm going from a PC.
Return of the Mac. No, return of the Mac. Taking it back to the 80s.
So we're all here, and that's nice. And today we're talking about Red Dawn from 1984. So I'm just going to let you know right now, us three buffoons are going to probably be talking about some political stuff during this podcast.
Oh, boy. We're going to piss off some more of... So we had 5 listeners. We had that one jackass from Florida, and then, boy, he got upset with us.
Yeah, we had somebody not happy with our Scarface podcast about a year or so ago.
What I love the most is when someone basically tells you, like, I'm unfollowing. I'm not listening to you anymore. Like, you just go. Just go. Are you one of these people that like slams the door, opens it back up to say some shit, and then slam it again?
By the way, I'm leaving.
Wham.
And when you do a movie like this, it's inherently political. So no matter what, you're going to be talking about the political climate of 1984 when this movie came out and how things are different now. And maybe some of our opinions might be applied in here. So, get ready for that.
You guys watched a movie about Watergate and talked about politics. How fucking dare you?
How dare you watch a movie about the Cold War and not talk about Russia relations with Russia and the climate back then. But before we jump into controversy, let's do what we always do. Let's start with David. David, what did you watch this week?
Eric, thank you. And for allowing me to go first, and I want to say thanks last week or the week before, whichever one it was, for giving me a shout out for helping hold down the fort. But real quick, also I want to say that you gave Neil a very welcome back, Neil. Oh, let me get on my knees for you, Neil. And then I might be out fighting fire for 4 weeks. I come back and guess who's with us? David. And that's all I get. Okay, but
I'm like, guess who's back? Dave. Hey, Dave, how's it going?
Of all the flavors Dave could have chosen, he chose to be salty.
I know.
Yeah.
And bitter.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Bitter. Let me tell you what I watched. So I've been busy, so I'm going to kind of combine this. I've been working the last 18 days. But over that time, I watched this movie called Burn. I don't know if you've seen that one, where this guy comes in to rob a gas station. I'm trying to remember. But yeah, the girlfriend gets shot, someone else gets shot, and a really creepy girl that's always doing weird shit. It's a weird movie, burns the gas station down. I recommend it.
When did it come out? Who's in it?
Well, fuck.
Suki Waterhouse, Josh Hutcherson, that kid from the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Those are the only ones that I can think of.
Came out in 2019.
Yeah. So it was good. I enjoyed it. And then last night I watched the one where Sydney Sweeney was going to have Jesus' baby.
Oh, Immaculate?
Immaculate, yes. And you know what it made me think of, Eric, was one of your Italian horror films, the way it was shot and the music.
That's what I heard is very giallo-like.
Yes, it was very heavily influenced by that. And you'll see it right away. Once you start watching it, you'll see it, what I'm talking about. The cinematography, the music.
Yeah. So the company that put out Immaculate Neon is the company that's put out Long Legs this week. And so they're becoming another kind of a rival to A24, putting out the unusual boutique horror movies. So I'm kind of looking forward to I want to see Immaculate because I enjoy me some Sydney Sweeney.
What'd you guys have for dinner? What the hell was that sound?
Motorcycle.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry.
I just tried to ignore it.
I thought, well, Dave leaned forward when it made
I know,
the
David
noise.
looked like
I was like, damn, dude.
It scared me. David looked like the motorcycle was coming through his house, his door or something.
Yeah,
But
that's it was. I enjoyed it. I think Eric, you should watch it, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
Kind of some long first-person angle shots, but none of the heavy breathing that Neil.
Thank God. First person, thank God. Let me get my pencil out so I can write this down to watch it.
Yeah, Neil, shove it up your ass, and then I think the music, Eric, and that close up, like it seems like those Italian horror films have the weird angles towards eyeballs and all kinds of. Yeah, you'll see it. But that's all I watched. Neil, what did you watch besides anime?
Besides, all the anime. ISS was like probably the only movie I like got through, and it's a movie about the International Space Station and the complement of the crew, Americans and Russians, and some shit goes down on Earth, and they're given orders to do stuff. And it was interesting. It was just like a long, slow burn of a movie. It's obvious where they're going to get to at the end, but it was just one of those like trying to guess how it was going to happen and what was going to happen before we got there. That was interesting. And the rest of it's pretty much because we haven't really gone out much the last 2 weeks. It's been so hot. But one of my wife's coworkers wanted to talk to her about House of the Dragon. So we've been watching the first 2 seasons of House of the Dragon, and those are like hour-long episodes.
I hear it's really good, but I have not watched it.
It's a series, so not quite up your alley.
It's no MILF Manor.
It is no MILF Manor. Or Naked Attraction. Was that the one? Naked Attraction?
Yeah, Naked Attraction, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll watch like 2 of those a night. And it's pretty much all you need. And it's George R.R. Martin, man. He's all about like incest sex. Nobody ever wins. Everybody gets killed. Weird, horrible shit happens all the time.
Betrayal, left and right,
Left and right betrayal. But on the good news is that hopefully by the next time we speak, I will have seen Longlegs because my wife has expressed interest.
Mm-hmm. I really, really want to see that movie. And I'm like, hyped up about it. And on Hulu, Oz Perkins' first movie is called Black Coat's Daughter. And it's got Emma Roberts and Kiernan Shipka in it. And it's like sort of a demon possession movie. And I hear it's really, really good, but it's also extremely a slow burn and lots of shit going on in the background. You have to pay attention to everything. And, it's supposed to be really, really good. And it kind of started his career. Interesting guy, that Oz Perkins. His dad was Tony Perkins, of Psycho. And his mother, was married to Anthony Perkins. Very interesting. I was reading about Anthony Perkins, where he was well known as being gay in Hollywood for a very long, very long time. Then he went to like some early like therapy to renounce your homosexuality. And so he got married and he had 2 kids. And one is Oz Perkins, who was an actor in some other, smaller movies and stuff. And Oz Perkins, after Tony Perkins died in 1992, his mom, Anthony Perkins' wife, died in one of the flights in September 11th. It's just kind of a crazy, crazy story for him. But he seems to be a very interesting movie maker with the horror movies that he's done. And he's going to do a Stephen King adaptation of The Monkey coming up soon. So I'm interested to see how he does. But I've heard lots of good things about Longlegs, but it's also one of those things where it seems like it's so overhyped that if you watch it, maybe it doesn't meet the hype because people have built it up so much. And like I saw a tweet where somebody's like, "Oh, if I don't die watching Longlegs, then it hasn't lived up to the hype." If Longlegs doesn't come off the screen and kill me in the theater, it won't have lived up to the hype. So I'm going to watch Black Coat's Daughter this week. But what I did watch this week, did we even get there? No, we're still talking about you, Neil. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump all over you.
No, dude, that was it. That was it. I was just trying to look up because you said Oz Perkins. I was trying to look him up, and I recognize him from films. I just didn't know who the hell he was. Yeah.
All right, so going to what I watched this week. I watched the end of a lot of movies this week. I caught the last 45 minutes of Grease after I was taking a nap. And I would say Grease is a guilty pleasure of mine just because it is so weird. And it's just like all these people in their mid-20s and early 30s playing teenagers in the 70s, going back to the 50s. And I had a big old crush on Olivia Newton-John, especially in her skanky Sandy outfit at the end. So always make sure and watch the end of Grease to see skanky Sandy.
Color me shocked.
Sandy, you look like a slut now. What's going on here?
Skanky Sandy.
I got weird feelings. I don't know what's going on.
I kind of got a boner in these pants right now. Oh my God, Mr. Carter, what are you gonna do?
My pants are getting tighter, Sandy.
Well, and the weird thing, the premise at the end, the lesson you learn from Grease is that you need to change yourself to fall in love with the next person. Like, so Danny joins the track team and letters in track to appease Sandy, and then Sandy becomes like, a gang babe at the end of the movie to satisfy Danny. And it's just like, you got to change yourself in order to catch the person. And then the car they're in flies off into, for no reason. I don't know what the hell's going on. But yeah. Also watched CB4 with Chris Rock, which I fucking love. I love that movie. It's so damn funny.
My balls and my big balls.
I'm black, y'all. I watched the end of Basketball with Trey Parker and Matt Stone. Also another stupid movie. I'm really wanting to watch stupid comedies lately, and those two fit the bill. And in anticipation of Longlegs, I watched the end of The Silence of the Lambs, last hour of it, and that movie's so goddamn good. So good.
Very good movie.
It's really, really good. But yeah, that's kind of been my viewing. I haven't got to watch any MILF Manor or Naked Attraction this week because I've worked a lot of overtime. So
you're a disappointment.
I know. But yeah. Jamie has been enjoying MILF Manor. There's this one lady who was in both seasons of MILF Manor. I can't remember her name, but she is so leathery. She is like the most leathery looking person I've ever seen in my entire life. She looks like a burn victim. Probably is. I mean, I guess in a way she is a burn victim from the sun, but she is super, super leathery. Just like a hot dog that's been left on the roller for way too long. But we're not here to talk about MILF Manor. We're here to talk about Red Dawn.
I'm scrolling through pictures now. I'm trying to find her.
I think Jamie sent me a picture of her. It's on my phone. I'll have to send it to both of you. Hold on. Anyway.
What about that chick?
No, that's she. I can't remember which one she is.
Dude, look at her from the side. That's frightening.
I know her. Like all these ladies have had that buccal or bocal. I can't remember. I can never really pronounce it. It's where they suck the fat out of your cheeks, to give you more of a streamlined, cheekbone look. So they all look very cadaverous with their Botoxed eyebrows and then their fat removed from their cheeks. They all look like they're the undead ghouls. The Baba Yaga.
It's not what you did, it's who you did it to.
Yeah. An old hag. Anyway, Red Dawn from 1984. This movie, as a kid, scared the shit out of me. I assumed this is really what was going to happen. I just, I was 11 and very easily influenced at 11 years old. I thought this was, holy shit, this is going to happen. I saw this in the theater with my dad, who thought it was ridiculous. And he was right. It was ridiculous. But as a kid, I thought it was scary as fuck. Neil, when did you first see this?
Saw it in the theater, actually, with my mom and dad. And my dad was like outraged at so much of the movie. And my dad's not one of those people that speaks out, but my dad, being a military vet, having served for quite a few years, just sat there. And, well, I mean, my dad wouldn't swear, but he just said, that's garbage. That's garbage. Never happened. Never happened. How stupid is that? Just like people around us were getting upset. I remember getting up to go to the bathroom and standing in the back of the theater to try to watch the rest of the movie because my mom was like, shh. My dad was like, don't shush me. He was so pissed off about this movie. And this was a rallying point for all the good old boys at our school and in our town.
Yeah.
Because this was like, yeah, if the Russians come, I'd fuck them up. I'd shoot them all. Wink, wink. Of course you would. course you would.
We're getting way again. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We'll get into this a little bit. David, when did you see this movie?
We probably rented on VHS at some point in the late 90s. And then I think as a group, right after 9/11, everybody took a couple of days off and stuff. Was the last time I remember watching this. Was we all drank beer and watched Red Dawn for some reason at the house. Remember that house we were all renting? Me and a bunch of losers.
Oh yeah, on Wall Street. It was like
good friends, but we weren't really doing anything with our lives. So we drank a lot of beer, watched Red Dawn, and right after 9/11, and we talked about what if something happened. Do you think they'll invade Farmington, New Mexico, and how stupid that would be as a funny TV show?
Now, what tactical advantage is Farmington?
Exactly.
Comrades, we have taken the Whataburger and have put a cinch. We now control all green chili cheeseburgers in the region.
The Four Corners area is cut off from green chili.
We have stopped all Budweiser shipments coming into the area. The people will be crippled soon.
A man named Bob gave us all the secrets for a can of Bud Light, Coors Light.
and I know we'll probably get ahead on this, but didn't you say earlier this week that it's supposed to be in Colorado? I saw that part when I watched the recap, but wasn't it shot in New Mexico?
Yeah, it was shot in Las Vegas, New Mexico.
Yeah.
And you can really tell if you're a New Mexican because there's lots of mesas, lots of gold aspens turning in the fall, lots of it just looks like New Mexico. It doesn't have the Rockies. Like I live in Colorado, so like if you're driving down like through Pagosa Springs down to Alamosa, that kind of area, or that looks like Colorado to me. They're just gigantic mountains with pines and everything, where New Mexico is much more, I don't know, it's a little more sparse scrub brush.
It reminds me of when you just start, before you get into, I can't remember the name of the road, but before you're coming from where we lived, you're going into Farmington and where you could just keep going to 30th Street. If you just turned left and you start driving up and then it just opens up. It's just, you got kind of some plains and some farmland right there. And then all you can see is the ass end of the Rockies in the distance. That looked a little bit like it to me. That looked like, okay, I would believe Southern Colorado, but then who the hell would want to stay there over the course of the winter, man? Get your ass down into some warmer places.
Yeah, so it looks very New Mexico-like rather than Colorado, and it was shot in Las Vegas, New Mexico, which is a hellhole. It's one of those places that you're like, why the fuck did we stop there if you're driving through? Sorry, people who live in Las Vegas, but Las Vegas, New Mexico. You know what? I'm going
to double down. Everybody in Las Vegas, go fuck yourselves.
No, I mean, it is not the best stopover. Probably one of the dirtiest bathrooms I've ever peed in was in a rest stop in Las Vegas, New Mexico, driving from Colorado to Albuquerque. It was scary. Still have dreams on it. It was like Train Spotting's bathroom, just a little toned down from that. The dirtiest bathroom in all of Scotland.
It's definitely all right. There's some trauma. We got some things we'll have to talk about after.
Yes. And maybe Las Vegas is better, like get down, like in the old streets and stuff like that. But that was the representation of Las Vegas, New Mexico to me.
On the next Retro Video Store podcast, Eric's tinkle trauma continues.
Exactly. I keep going. What about those troughs? So you have to pee in like at sports stadiums and stuff like that?
I will only pee in there if it's a hot day. If it's been out and it's a little bit warm, nope. Not when it's cold.
It's deep too? Water's deep as well?
It's got to be deep and it's got to go all the way past the U-bend.
Remember, and this is way off topic, but you would go to like a pee trough and they would put ice in it? Like in a bar? So gross.
Where the hell have you been drinking?
Pee trough with the ice in it.
What the hell is this?
I can't remember which bar it was in Albuquerque or something. I can't remember.
Jeez. All right. So basically I'm going to stay off I-25 from Colorado Springs to Albuquerque. I'm sworn off that road now for the rest of my life. All right.
Yeah. Scary stuff. Yeah. Anyway, you want to hit us with the Internet Movie Database tagline?
It is the dawn of World War III in the West Mountains of America. A group of teenagers band together to defend their town and their country from an invading Soviet forces, full of red commies.
Added the end part there.
Commies. So this is kind of weird. It's directed by John Milius. John Milius directed one of our favorite movies of all time.
What movie would that be?
That would be Conan the Barbarian. John Milius is a very interesting dude. He would carry around a loaded gun on the set of Red Dawn, and he is responsible for a lot of very macho movies. He wrote, he directed Conan the Barbarian, which was written by Oliver Stone, and I think adapted a lot by him. He wrote uncredited drafts of Dirty Harry. He was the spiritual advisor for Lone Wolf McQuade, whatever that is.
The spiritual advisor. That needs to be checked up on with Chuck Norris, because I think that sounds like somebody's putting some bullshit down to pad their resume.
I guess he advised on guns and advised on other things that were in the movie. He wrote Apocalypse Now, and that is quite an achievement. Directed Conan the Barbarian. Said he credited as spiritual advisor in the action film Lone Wolf McQuade. He wrote Red Dawn and directed Red Dawn. He wrote the script for Fatal Beauty with that was directed by Tom Holland and starred Whoopi Goldberg. That's really interesting. And he had a kind of a period where he was ill and didn't do much. Then he was credited as producer and writer for Rome, the TV series on HBO.
On HBO? That was pretty good. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. This movie is just odd because it was co-produced by a member of the Reagan administration, Alexander Haig. Was former Nixon chief of staff who yearned to supervise the film personally and develop a movie career. So, yeah, so it's he took John Milius to the War College where they thought about or came up with different invasion ideas of how this might happen. And we need to have an alert. Political. This movie is considered one of the top conservative movies of all time, which is a weird honor to have. And I think that John Milius kind of didn't want it to be that way. He wanted it to be like, this is the horrors of war rather than the glorify it, but I don't think people see that at all.
Well, you got to cut down with the whole like you get it with the drums and having the flag. I mean the whole anti-war thing we had just for a hot second at the beginning of the invasion, where you get that. Remember that dumbass bumper sticker? You can have my gun when you pry it from my cold dead hands. The guy's taking out of his cold dead hands. But then
he did, yes.
Yeah. Then after that, no, it was like jingoism splooge, man. It was all over the place.
I think, and this is once again my opinion only, that I think a lot of people really kind of slyly want this to happen so they can participate in this.
They want to throw it back in everybody's face. Like, this is why I have 75 guns. This because I'm going to fight tyranny. Tyranny is going to show up in a tank, homie.
Yeah. So it was written by Kevin Reynolds and John Milius, released on August 10th of 1984, $17 million budget, $38 million at the box office. And it was the first movie released with the PG-13 rating. There's a movie called The Flamingo Kid with Matt Dillon that was made first and got rated PG-13, but was released after Red Dawn. And there's some weird trivia about how this has the most acts of violence per minute of any movie at that time up to this time. Yeah, made the film. The film made the Guinness Book of Records for most acts of violence in any film up to that time. According to their calculations, 135 acts of violence occur per hour, or 2.23 per minute. This is obviously
super violent,
but this is obviously before the Raid and the Raid 2 and John Wick and and all that movies were just
but for 84. Yeah, this is definitely like. Crazy.
I remembered the other movie I watched because we were talking about the amount of violence. I just remembered now. Boy Kills World.
Okay.
Which doesn't have a lot of violence, but it's just over the top and ridiculous when it does happen. So I highly recommend watching it because I remember when you said that, my wife was drawing comparisons between the two.
Okay.
I got to start writing this shit down.
Boy Kills World. I did have on my notes in my scrawl that I had Grease and CB4 Silence of the Lambs on there because I have to do that because I'm like, what did I watch this week? I totally don't remember. Let's talk about the cast. Patrick Swayze is Jed Eckert. C. Thomas Howell is Robert Morris. Leah Thompson is Erica Mason. She doesn't get to talk a lot in this movie. Leah Thompson. Charlie Sheen is Matt Eckert. Darren Dalton is Daryl. Jennifer Grey is Tony Mason. Brad Savage is Danny. Doug Toby is Arturo. Powers Booth, which I think is who was the best part of the movie, is in this as well as Lieutenant Colonel Andrew Tanner. Your Russian people and Cuban people, Ron O'Neill is Colonel Ernesto Bella, the Cuban Revolutionary Army. William Smith as Colonel Strelnikov, the Spetsnaz. And Vladek Shelbal is General Barchenko. William Smith, who I only know from the one of the any movies with Clint Eastwood, is it Every Which Way You But Loose or Any Which Way You Can, whatever. He actually could speak Russian, was fluent in Russian.
Yeah,
and he did a good job when he was in that part. The critical consensus is amazing. Neil, would you start read that?
Red Dawn received mixed reviews, receiving a rotten 50% on Rotten Tomatoes based on 28 reviews, averaging 5.5 out of 10. The website's consensus reads, an appealing ensemble of young stars will have some audiences rooting for the Wolverines, but Red Dawn's self-seriousness can never conceal the silliness of its alarmist concept. Colin Greenland reviewed Red Dawn for Imagine Magazine and stated that Red Dawn is a self-congratulatory little B picture, the sort America does so well. Set in the early months of World War III, it's a loving chronicle of juvenile heroism in Russian-occupied Colorado. School kids caught behind enemy lines become crack guerrillas overnight, slaughter nobly, die even more so. Nice scenery, shame about the movie. The New York Times reviewer Janet Maslin, bring it home, Janet. To any sniveling lily-livers who suppose that John Milius has already reached the pinnacle of movie-making machismo, a warning. Mr. Milius's Red Dawn is more rip-roaring than anything he has done before. Here is Mr. Milius at his most alarming, delivering a rootin'-tootin' scenario for World War III. Janet pulled no punches. That was so great. MGM apologized to Alaska War veterans for the film's advertising, which claimed that no foreign troops had ever landed on U.S. soil, overlooking the Aleutian Islands campaign of World War II, where Japanese soldiers occupied the Aleutian Islands, which is part of Alaska. At the time it was released, Red Dawn was considered the most violent film by the Guinness Book of World Records and the National Coalition on Television Violence with a rate of 134 acts of violence per hour, or 2.23 per minute. The 2007 DVD special edition includes an on-screen carnage counter in a nod to this. National Review Online has named the film number 15 in its list of the best conservative movies. Adam, hard-to-pronounce last name at the website DVD Verdict, opined the film often feels like a Republican wet dream manifested into a surrealistic Orwellian nightmare. According to Jess Walker of Reason, the film outraged liberal critics, but further to the left, it had some supporters. In a witty and perceptive piece for The Nation, Andrew Kopkind called it the most convincing story about popular resistance to imperial oppression since the inimitable Battle of Algiers. adding that he takes the Wolverines from Colorado over a small circle of friends from Harvard Square in any revolutionary situation I can imagine. Libertarian theorist Murray Rothbard argued that the film was not so much pro-war as it was anti-state. Rothbard gave the film a generally positive review while expressing some reservations with the story. One big problem with the picture is that there is no sense that successful guerrilla war feeds on itself. In real life, the ranks of the guerrillas would start to swell, and this would defeat the search and destroy concept. In Red Dawn, on the other hand, there are only the same half dozen teenagers, and the inevitable attrition makes the struggle seem hopeless when it need not be. Another problem is that there is no character development through the action, so that except for the leader, all the high school kids seem indistinguishable. As a result, there is no impulse to mourn as each one falls by the wayside.
This is 100% true because I could not tell the people, like there's that Danny and then there's the Aardvark kid. They were completely interchangeable to me. And I was like, who's this? What's going on? They didn't register to me at all.
Well, after the same sort of setup for every ambush they did.
Yeah.
I just was like, okay, cool. Okay, she's going to be here. He's doing that. And C. Thomas Howell, the fuck he is going to throw a grenade at some point. Cool.
Yeah.
Let's do that 4 or 5 more times, boys. We got ourselves a movie.
And they use the same shot multiple times. Or just like, when the plane blew up, I think that was supposed to be 2 separate planes blowing up when they threw the grenades. And you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They just used the same shit.
They probably due to budgetary concerns. Like, well, we'll just shoot the same plane from different angles. Maybe people will think it's a different plane.
I did. All right, Ed Power, he writes for The Independent. From a political perspective, many will find its simplistic vision problematic, but the visceral punch of Red Dawn is nonetheless undeniable. It puts pedal to the floor early on and keeps it there to the end. In one of the most relentless films ever made. As with Conan and Apocalypse Now, the air of unrelenting doom is an acquired taste. Yet this grit has served a preservative. Red Dawn holds up surprisingly well today, not simply in terms of its action set pieces, but in its portrait of America as a place where the frontier mentality lives on just beneath the surface.
Mm-hmm. I really don't think it's on the surface anymore.
No, I don't think it's on the surface at all.
Just beneath it. It is not beneath the surface at all. It's front and center out there. So yeah, the plot is just pure, just getting you paranoid. NATO dissolves. Germany decides to go. The Green Party decides to dissolve all or remove all the nuclear weapons from Europe. So Europe sits it out and the U.S. stands alone, and those immigrants are coming up through the border. Yeah.
Yeah, so weird. So strange. I've heard it's a unique concept.
It's just like every election cycle, there's this gigantic monster million caravan heading up to the border. But then when the election happens, and then it goes away for a little bit.
Yeah, we haven't heard about that in a long time.
Yeah.
So strange.
Not to simplify the immigration issue, but there we go.
Let's say that these issues, the way these issues are presented, are for simple people.
Yes.
It's all fear. 100% about fear.
100%.
Having just spent some time in the middle of the country.
Yes, exactly. Like, I'm for legal immigration. You come in. That's what this country is founded on. Illegal, it's illegal.
This country was founded on people coming in and just fucking taking what they wanted. There was no...
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, well, you're where we want to be. We're going to kill you.
Yeah, and being a Native American, that's, yeah. My ancestors got moved to Oklahoma.
Okay. If you want, I will pull up my 23andMe. I'm going to start pulling this out. Don't you start talking about us natives. 1.1% right here, buddy.
All right.
Right here. 1.1%.
Hey, guess what mine said?
Douche?
7. Well, that besides that, a 7%
extra chromosome.
Will you let me finish?
Dave is come on, get down with the syndrome. Come on, get down with the syndrome. Ooh, what?
7% Neanderthal.
Okay, that's underselling that shit right there. It's way underselling.
It checks out. It checks out. Yeah.
We've seen the way your beard grows. 7% is an underestimation.
As my ex-girlfriend said, well, that explains a lot when I told her what it was. Okay, lots. The picture's becoming clearer. So you morons go back to talking.
All I think of is Phil Hartman. I don't understand this weird podcast. I'm just a frozen caveman.
I'm confused. Unfrozen Caveman Lawyer is really an underrated SNL sketch.
I am Lothar of the Hill People.
That era is just so good. Yeah. All right. So I think the best part of the movie to me is the beginning.
Oh,
when
the end.
When the parachutists come, dropping in on the school and everything, and that always, to me, that was just always scary, because when you're in junior high and you're bored as hell after you've seen this movie, it's like, what if there's a bunch of people parachuted into the football field? They shot my science teacher.
Well, though, considering the area where we grew up, I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, now you can't do it. But I went to school all the time with like a hunting rifle and a handgun in my car.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't shoot anybody, strangely enough. Like even in junior high, when I got my motorcycle license, I still had a little 38 under the seat. Sound like fucking hooligans right now, but. So I could see that, but all those kids sitting there and at that time and no one having anything. And how the fuck did Patrick Swayze, who's supposed to be at work, see this happen? And it's apparently everybody's landing right behind the high school. No, to get in his pretty sweet pickup truck.
Oh, I looked up that pickup.
That's so sweet.
Such a
1977 Chevy Cheyenne stepside pickup.
Oh, so good. The way they mistreated that thing. Hurt my soul.
I know, when they're driving away from the tanks in the field and you can just see, just destroying those shocks on that truck.
Oh, considering the way things were built then, it probably wasn't too bad. I mean, if you do it now, it's like 2 speed bumps and your shocks are blown.
Mm-hmm. What did they have in the back of that pickup? Gun rack.
Mm-hmm.
There was a gun rack. Yeah, I remember lots of dudes at school had gun racks in their pickups, and they weren't empty.
No.
Yeah.
Can I tell my taking my hunting rifle to school story?
Yes.
Okay. So do you remember Mr. Kirkpatrick?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I pulled up and Kirkpatrick was outside and he stops me and he goes, "Hey, is that a Mossberg? Is that a 30-06?" I was like, "Yeah, it's brand new. I just got it." Huh. And he was like, "Have you sighted it in yet?" I'm like, "No, I was going to go take it out and do that after." And then we thought maybe we might go see if we could, find a little something after. So because I had biology first period, you know that it was all empty fields that went down to the river across from the high school. Mm-hmm. Walked across and ran probably 20, 30 rounds through that rifle with Mr. Kirkpatrick sighting it in for me when we should have been in biology.
Mm.
This is where we went to school. And you know what?
Rule of Mexico, people.
Not one person called the cops. It was just 2 guys out in the field shooting a tree.
We used to go shooting in the area behind my house off of, like 6480 way back, where the the El Paso gas plant and stuff like that was. We would go shooting all the time.
Yeah. Well, when I go back to visit my brother-in-law, that's exactly what we go do. We head back out on your road and we head off into the hills and throw some targets out and still just go shoot out in the hills.
Yep.
We did
that at the exact same time.
Where are you going, city boy?
I love New Mexico. God damn it, I love New Mexico.
Oh, man.
Yeah. But that, to me, is the best part of the movie, when the parachuters is coming in, and then for some reason, this movie loves RPGs. this is the rocket power grenade fest.
And there's a lot of call for them to RPG.
Hey, RPG. Why do they attack the school? What tactical advantage is Calumet, Colorado? This little town. I think,
Oh, that wasn't okay. Was that rhetorical? That seemed rhetorical.
It was very rhetorical. Yes.
Okay.
But this movie touches that fantasy part of you. Like, man, we would run and we get some supplies, get some arrows, get some guns. We'd hide out and then we'd fight. It is an appealing setup when you're 12. Neil put up a picture of the 1977 Chevy Cheyenne step-side pickup.
Yes. Just so if one of you guys hits the lottery before me, you know which one to get me. That's the one I want right there.
Yeah.
I'm not getting you
Those
shit
old...
if I win the lottery.
I'll remember that because I just bought a ticket, bitch. Here it goes. Okay. I loved when they threw the supplies in, and then because we've all done this, every one of us here has been in the back of a truck that was overloaded, and our dads were driving and came this close to fucking losing our lives,
bouncing out. Yeah,
but watching the dummies they had back there, the mannequins just flying all over, that brought such a warm, nostalgic feel to my heart. Like I feel you, dummy. I really do, Mr. Mannequin.
And then the piss in the radiator thing. I always remember that. That's like, oh, you just remember that as the part of the movie. Piss in it. Piss in the radiator.
Yeah, he's gonna take that radiator cap off, and there's gonna be a lot of steam. Ain't nobody gonna want to piss in that radiator.
Yeah, exactly.
Right away.
Melt his dick off. The one thing is like, go to the gun store and then check for everybody's registration to see who owns what. And I'm like, oh no!
That's why we don't register our guns.
And this is back in 1984. Right now, in 2024, I think they would underestimate the sheer number of guns that people have in their houses.
Yep.
I mean, people have dozens and dozens of guns. I am not a huge gun enthusiast. I have 3 in my house.
Dave, due to legal reasons, can you tell us how many you have? I know there were some court orders a bit back.
I don't
Can
have any.
You still legally own them? Yeah, wink, wink. Gotcha.
Yeah. I don't know anything.
That the government knows about, fuckers.
Yeah, exactly. Pry it from my dead hands.
I know all the amendments, but I only need 1 and 2.
It says USA, not you, SA.
How I was thinking about this. Can we go to imagination land for a second?
Yes.
Okay, we're there. What if the attack happened today? How do you think this generation of high school kids would do?
Just depends on what high school you're at.
Yeah. I think if you went back home, because those kids are still doing the kind of shit that we did, going out, shooting, hunting, all that stuff. There's a lot more people in Farmington, than when we were kids, but like in Durango, you still go to Durango, everyone still dresses and behaves like it is Durango. I still think you would get the same, but anywhere else, having met some children, I think they're soft as baby shit. And I also think all the good old boys who are touting are all just cholesterol bombs waiting to explode. Their heart rate would start to race. They'd get 2 steps into it, and it would be a coronary vent, and then they're done.
Mm-hmm. Meal Team 6.
Meal Team 6. Well, honestly, there's been so much posturing from so many different countries for so long that, like, Russia used to be like the big bad guy, right? Like Russia, they'll just come in. There's so many Russians that'll come and kick your ass. They started to roll towards Ukraine. The Ukraine is a much smaller country compared to the whole of Russia. They once Russia pushed in, Ukraine went, no, fuck you, and pushed them back. And even with all their military might, they're still having some issues there.
I think there was like 70,000 Russian soldiers dead or something. I don't know the exact number. I see it sometimes, but you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
So
I think it's things like that that people have to start realizing that like warfare like that is not pretty. And as much as everybody likes to swing their dick and think they're super macho and that they would just go in there and just kick some ass, that it's not necessarily going to happen like that. And there have been various parts of the world and conflicts that have taught the United States that very same thing.
Yeah, it's hard to take over someplace.
Unpopular opinion time with Neil. Tune in next week.
Yeah, but I do think the sheer number of guns in the United States that it would be tough to get people out of their houses with them. I'm kind of surprised how conservative our thinking is in this. But also, I think we're realists, and I think we're more centrist than anything else. But I do feel like, it is an interesting movie. I think the movie is entertaining, but also pretty ridiculous at the same time. There are parts that I enjoy, and
our revolutionary from Cuba knows enough to like you. Okay, Pacho, you're going to go down and you're going to get a form XYZ 294-3. You're going to find out all the guns, right? And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, he's the member of an elite paramilitary organization, the Eagle Scouts. You knew enough to get that, but you had no idea what the Eagle Scouts is. What did this kid do to become an Eagle Scout? Like he planted a garden at the school and put a fence around it.
You can tie knots really well. Did some community service.
Okay, just also with this, the Boy Scouts can kiss my ass too because I got kicked out. Fuck you guys, and your popcorn, fuckers.
I didn't get to join the Boy Scouts, even though at one point I wanted to, because I did not belong to a certain religious organization in our hometown.
I'm going to give a hint. Can I give a hint without just saying it?
Uh-huh.
Eric want to be a Boy Scout. Dum, 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 dum.
Yeah, so, yeah. I do love just how bleak it fucking gets when they go back to town and there's like, they're burning books. There's a guy in the store, just watching people sell stuff, like the ladies just selling sundry stuff. And there's a guy from the KGB watching over. Is like, do they really have that much manpower to watch stuff being sold in the store? Shouldn't he be out on the front line somewhere? And then my favorite part is Harry Dean Stanton when they see him at the re-education camp / movie theater, and he just encapsulates paranoid boomer parenting to a T. I know I was rough on you, son. Made you hate me. You're like, wow.
Yeah, don't cry. Don't wait. Turn it into something else.
Turn it into
something else.
Avenge me. There's a really good parody of Red Dawn on South Park where it's called Gray Dawn, where the senior citizens take over South Park.
Oh, nice. I haven't seen that one.
It's amazing. It's an older episode, but it's a perfect parody. And Randy Marsh gets put behind the re-education camp, and he's like telling Stan, "Avenge me!" Really good. But this is paranoid boomer parenting. I know you. I was tough on you, boy, but you realize why now. Don't cry. Yeah,
I was tough on you because I was worried about Russians and Cubans invading the middle of the country. Not because I was just kind of a dick. I was afraid of my own emotions. It made it easier to put more of the parenting on your mother because I didn't have to give a shit about anything. Nope. All this time I was preparing you boys for invasion. And he taught them so well that these kids were out living in the mountains for like a month before they came back down without a bath, without products, perfectly clean hair, clothes that weren't dirty, groomed immaculately still after. Okay. And Dave fucking camps out all the time on fires. I'm sure Dave looks just as crispy on day 1 as he does day 14.
Exactly.
Yeah, freshly shaved, clothes all perfect, you smell fantastic. You need to get your chainsaw and etch Wolverines into it. I think that's what you should do.
Wolverines. Some of the best parts are like, you know, when they do start their little guerrilla campaign where Jennifer Grey's character Tony is like, you know, planting bombs in random places and walking out and blowing shit up. That's good.
Just nodding our heads. Yep, that's great.
Yep.
Super part. Love that.
See Thomas Howell getting hardened and mean.
Oh God, what was that lame line? That hate's gonna burn you up. Keeps you warm.
Yeah. Group executions and Patrick Swayze yelling, "Don't cry!
Pain don't hurt."
Let me teach you how to rip a man's throat out. Do a fancy ballet spin kick." I do like him as an actor, though. I think he does decent in this one. You know, he's a good crier, complete with his gigantic snot bubble when he's crying by himself.
Dude. Yeah. Oh, God damn it. As soon as you said that, I was saving that.
I like when the Colonel, you know, Powers Booth's character is talking about how bad it is in Denver. People are killing and eating each other in Denver.
There's some skeletons that would kill for a handful of bread.
I think he did the best part in the movie because he kind of added some sort of nuance to the movie and attitude towards the war, you know, war and all that kind of stuff. I thought he was good until he stupidly gets blown up trying to take out a tank by himself, like a moron.
Which, and apparent, well, hey, he was a tactician. They showed us he was planning all kinds of stuff. So that is something that he would have done. Yes. Mm-hmm. And was it Aardvark? I can't take it. I can't take it. Watch this, buddy. Take the right index finger, take the left index finger, right into the ears. Boom. Helps dampen that sound, partner.
I always thought it was funny when they find out that Daryl has a tracker. You know, I'm like, where did they put the tracker? It made him swallow it. No, they put it up his ass. Put up his ass. Beep, 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 beep. Yeah.
And then we see how far they've gone. How C. Thomas Howell has begun to lose his humanity.
And shoots poor Daryl. That's when things go to hell. Everything turns bad. Then they have the special Russian forces come and track him down. And our cast dwindles very quickly. Very quickly. And always kind of, this movie peters out for me, where I I enjoy it up until like Powers Booth characters dies, or when they kill the mayor's son Daryl. Then after that, I usually kind of tune out. So I never really remember how the movie ends, and I forgot that they send Erica and Danny to free area. I don't know if they made it or not. And then Jed and Matt go on a kind of basically a suicide mission.
She makes it because she gives us the end of that. But here's the thing:
kill and eat Danny on the way.
Showing up, chewing on a femur. If those kids had paid attention and they'd have watched any Rambo movies, they would have known how to take out those helicopters. Get in the water, jump out, shoot them with a bomb on the end of an arrow. Done. Yeah. Helicopter gone. Done.
Just think about all the movies during this time. You know, you have Invasion USA. You got your Rambo movies. You know, Invasion USA is just hilarious. Chuck Norris kicking people left and right. You know, and is it the Delta Force where the guy who just keeps shooting people's dicks off in that movie? Which is the movie that we did on the podcast where
he starts to shoot the dick off.
Just puts the gun in the guy's pants and just yeah.
Well, I mean, and then it was the thing that was what we were playing off of the fear, and then it was drug dealers for a little bit after that. You know, the Colombians are going to come up and they're going to sell us all these drugs. We gotta make somebody the enemy.
Or the Jamaican drug posse, like in Marked for Death.
Squirrel face.
Crying like a dog with no teeth. That was the Steven Seagal.
I just watched a great video about him. and it was just like this guy like collects like his bullshit, and he was talking about his mom and like all the different things his mom. Oh yeah, my mom was Native American. Oh yeah, I believe she was part Mongol. Oh yeah, I'm Irish. Definitely. I'm very Irish on my mother's side. And just like, just like how the story constantly changes. You know what he needs? He needs some 23andMe, because right now Dave and I can stand firm on my Native American and on his Neanderthal. We can 100% know that for a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'm a Neanderthal.
47% Native American.
Shocked. And if the rest is not, Hispanic, makes me wonder.
Well, it's part Anglo in there, and then Hispanic. So, excuse me.
Get it out. Let it all out.
Sorry.
From one Anglo person to another. I approve of that. Although with your screen turned up really bright like that, it does look like we could almost be related. You look a little pale with how bright your monitor is.
It's dark around me, yeah. This movie is interesting. It's worth a watch if you have not seen it. I never saw the remake with Chris Hemsworth, where it's the North Korea that we're fighting in that one.
I heard it's bad.
It probably is. I won't even give it a chance. But growing up during the Cold War, there was a lot of scary movies that were just out there to scare the shit out of you. I specifically remember a movie called The Day After.
Oh yeah,
that scared the shit out of everybody. Yeah, and that obviously the day after a nuclear war. There's a British movie called Threads, which is supposedly even scarier than The Day After. I haven't seen it yet, but it's basically the same. There's The Day After, Threads, and there was another really more subtle kind of movie called I think it was Tempest. I think it is where it's like the small town is way away from like the major, nuclear incident, but all the radioactivity goes through and kills everybody really slowly, and it's really sad. I just remember this family had like 5 kids, and then during the course of the movie, you just see these plots of graves in there. Just yeah. Movie Testament is what it's called. There we go.
I saw them in concert not too long ago. Actually, really good.
Yeah. It says Testament depicts after effects of a nuclear war in a small town 100 miles north of San Francisco. Of course, there's War Games, which is another scary one. Another one I remember seeing, which is actually pretty good, speaking of Powers Booth, is one called By Dawn's Early Light. And it's kind of like basically almost like a theater thing where these people are inside this nuclear bomber and they keep getting conflicting orders about whether or not to drop the bomb and stuff. And it's really, it's kind of a cool thing. I remember watching on HBO. It came out in 1990. But yeah, there was a lot of movies based on these types of wars, like Invasion USA, Red Nightmare, World War III was an 82 miniseries. Invasion USA. Well, there's one in 1952, Invasion USA, and there's Invasion USA with Chuck Norris, which we've done an episode on. One called America with a K, 1987. The Hunt for Red October. Basically, all the early Bond movies had some sort of Cold War part to it. Rocky IV, which we did last week. The Return of Godzilla. I remember that one. Godzilla 84. So you couldn't escape it as a kid. The threat of nuclear war was everywhere, and I just knew that someday we were going to get blown up. So it scared the shit out of me as a kid. You're younger than us, David. Did you ever feel that way? Did you ever feel that Cold War anxiety?
I did. Yeah, for sure. I keep thinking it's going to happen someday.
But now it's just odd because depending on your perspective, Russia is either still the ultimate enemy or just a guy who's trying to, rule his country. We should just leave him alone and let him, do what he wants.
Just trying to rid the world of neo-Nazis.
Exactly. Yeah. Just, just out there taking what is back,
Are neo-Nazis Nazis that can like bend backwards and have bullets fly by really slow,
Whoa.
but that don't like Jewish people? Is that like a neo-Nazi?
Probably. Yeah.
See how I tied a movie into that.
Yeah.
You're
I
welcome.
didn't get that part of the Matrix, but yeah.
Just a wonder.
Yeah, I missed that episode.
David, what are your final thoughts on Red Dawn?
I don't think it's that bad. It's enjoyable. I think it seems like it's more relevant now than ever in my mind, because you just never know the way the world's going to hell in a goddamn handbasket. That's what I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got a good. The Brat Pack was in it. A certain version of the Brat Pack, right?
Yeah, a lot of
It's
the very early Jennifer Grey, Leah Thompson, not looking as good as she did in Howard the Duck.
Right.
But, yeah.
Yeah, but it's entertaining. That's all. I'd watch it again.
Yeah, it's still one of those. It's kind of those movies that if you see it and it's on, you're not really searching it out. But if it's on cable, you're gonna watch it to a certain point, watch a little bit of it, and then tune out again. How about you, Neil?
Wow, this is actually a tough one. See, I like looking back at 80s movies like this just to see how, because I used to feel like when I was in my mid 20s up to like my mid 30s, like, you know what, we just used to be so reactionary and so scared of everything. And look how ridiculous this stuff was. And now I look at where we're at now and like, look how reactionary we are. Look how afraid we are of everything. And it's if it's not going to be Red Dawn, we could have Paisley Dawn, Polka Dot Dawn, just you name it, and there it is. And the movie, entertaining. Does it make me sad about like the world that I lived in and continue to live in a little bit? Yes, which is why when we're done with this, I'm going to go sit down with my wife, watch a show about dragons, and eat the last of those fucking deviled eggs we made, because those were delicious.
All right.
That's what I'm planning on. Maybe some bourbon.
I still think it's entertaining. It is a very much a time capsule of the paranoid Cold War state, but still is valid today on that whole prepper, let's get ready for an invasion kind of thing that a lot of people believe in. And even, I think, fantasize about. Like, I can't wait until they come.
I'll kill them all. It just reminded me when I was out with my mom and dad, because my mom got really sick and I had to move them into a sort of a retirement community. When I was cleaning out their garage, the dude who had the affair with Jessica Hahn and his
Jim
wife
Baker.
was Jim Baker. Like, my mom and dad had the TV on, and he's not a preacher anymore, but he hawks like prepper food.
Yes.
That lasts for like 35 years. Yeah, I was cleaning out their garage. They own every single type of prepper food.
Oh my gosh.
And they all have it. It's all in buckets. And my dad was like, you know what? You should probably take a couple of those buckets with you, because your mom and I would not be able to eat all of that. And in that way, when something happens, you've got it. Cool, Dad. You know what? I got a lot of cats and a possum in the neighborhood, and the neighbors are well fed, so I think I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is sad, though, how they do take advantage of people who are susceptible to those types of things.
Yeah. Yeah, a little
Mostly
sad.
people our parents' age.
Exactly. Well, if I ever have to go clean that place out again, I'm gonna crack open some of that 35-year food. Have myself some of that beef chili with pinto beans with the rehydrated cheese.
I was getting ready to ask what it was. What is the meal?
Oh, I looked at, like, there's chili. I saw chili, goulash. There was like some things with like rice and stuff like that. But the salt content is obscene. And then they had some of these, like, they look like cookies, but apparently 4 of them altogether were like 2,700 calories, all 4 of these biscuits. So you could just like eat 1.5 for breakfast and then eat 1 at lunch.
Like Elvish bread.
Lambas.
Lambas bread.
The lady of Lothlorien gave us lambas bread. I cracked one open to try it, and it was, I would really have to be starving to want to force that down to survive. And even
It's
then,
like-
you're like, how much do I love life? Do I really want to be around for what's going on?
It's
I'm
like,
going to eat
do we
this.
make some squirrel bacon or do we eat this? So that was Red Dawn. Next week, we're going to the 90s and we're going to watch Mortal Kombat, one of the first video game movies I remember watching. So, test your might. With Mortal
Flawless victory.
Kombat. Liu Kang wins.
Prove your might.
So,
And then the little dude that popped out and went, Shibby! And went back.
Toasty, yeah. Good stuff. So join us then for next week for Mortal Kombat. You want to hit us up, email rvspodcast222@gmail.com. Register your disgust with our politics. Send us messages on Instagram and on Threads and on Facebook.
Twitter.
And if you like us, you could donate to the cause and go to buymeacoffee.com and look up the Retro Video Store. That would help us out a little bit. Because it's, this right now, it's not a money making enterprise.
And do you know why it's not a money making enterprise? Because there's a lot of people out there with hairy balls, and we could have been schlocking those ball trimmers.
Yeah.
But nope. You turned that stuff down. We could have been boner pills and ball trimmers.
I know. We need to get a Blue Chew advertisement. Well, thanks everybody.
Everybody have a good week.
Thank you for listening to the Retro Video Store Podcast.